Welcome students in the next lecture of the body fluids and circulation. तो लास्ट लेक्चर में हमने पढ़ा था आरबीसीज के बारे में, डिटेल काउंट ऑन द आरबीसीज। आज हम और एक सेल देखेंगे ब्लड की, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज डब्ल्यूबीसी। डब्ल्यूबीसी तो डब्ल्यूबीसी इज कॉल्ड एज white blood cell. You remember one more thing, they are actually colorless cells, but we call them as white blood cells. And they are also called leukocytes. Leucocytes इनको बोलते हैं. They are called as leukocytes. WBCs are white blood cells. Why they are colorless? Because they lack pigments. They lack pigments. इनमें कोई pigment नहीं होता है. They lack pigments. अब ये जो WBC है, इसका नंबर बहुत कम होता है एज कंपेयर टू आरबीसी। जैसे हमें पता है कि आरबीसी जब हमने पढ़ा था कि in 1 mm cube there were 5 to 5.5 million RBCs, but if we see the same ratio, that is 6,000 to 10,000, 6,000 to 10,000 WBCs are present in per mm cube. इतने WBCs होते हैं. That means they are very less meager than that of RBC. RBC से इनका काउंट बहुत कम होता है. अब if we take this ratio with the RBC, अगर हम लेंगे, there will be 600 WBCs, 600 RBCs and 1 WBC, यानी 600 RBC होंगे और एक WBC होगी. 600:1. That will be the RBC WBC ratio. 600:1. That means the WBC they are very less in blood. ये बहुत कम होते हैं. अब ये जो WBCs होते हैं, now they are again formed in bone marrow. Bone marrow से बनते हैं. तो we know that bone marrow में cells होते हैं. Those cells are called as pluripotent hemopoietic stem cells, or they are also multipotent cells, stem cells. These cells form one more lineage, myeloid lineage, some cells of the WBCs. तो वहां से बनते हैं. They originate from the bone marrow से बनते हैं. Now these cells are called as pluripotent hemopoietic stem cells. उनसे बनते हैं WBCs. अब ये जो cells हैं, formation of WBC is called as leucopoiesis. The formation of the WBC is called as leucopoiesis. Remember one word, where we use the word poiesis, it means formation. Erythropoiesis, formation of RBC. Leucopoiesis, formation of WBC. And when we see the number, it will vary between 6,000 to 10,000 per mm cube. But this number as average, we say that this is the total leukocyte count. We call it as TLC number, simply TLC. So what is TLC? TLC is total leukocyte count. That's 6,000 to 10,000. It can also vary in different reports. And average we take it 7,000. 7,000 हम लेते हैं. The TLC in human beings is 7,000. What we also see in reports, इतना 7,000. Now if the number goes down beyond 6,000, 6,000 से नीचे WBC का काउंट आ गया, so there is a decrease in the number of WBCs. That is called as leukopenia. Leukopenia. When there is leukopenia, WBC number overall general कम होगा बॉडी में. So it can trigger many immunological responses. The immunity will be very less because of the less count of the WBC. The less count of WBC is beyond 6,000, 4,000, 3,000. It's called as leukopenia. इसको leukopenia बोलते हैं. अगर बेटा ज्यादा हो 10,000 से ज्यादा, if it increases beyond 10,000, that disorder is called as leukocytosis. you have to remember three basic terms. Formation of WBCs is called as leukopoiesis, and the decrease in the count of WBCs is called leukopenia. Increase in the number of WBCs is called as leukocytosis. इसको leukocytosis बोलते हैं. अब ये जो WBCs हैं, they are the cells of immunity. You remember one basic point here. They are the cells of immunity. जैसे God has given us the immune system, a defense mechanism. हमारे बॉडी में एक डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म होता है. जब बहुत सारे पैथोजेंस हमारे बॉडी में चले जाते हैं, लाइक वायरसेस, बैक्टीरिया, पैरासाइट्स, बहुत सारे इन्वेजन हो जाता है. दे हैव अ यर्निंग डिजायर. इनको एक बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग चाहत होती है कि हमारे बॉडी में घुस जाए पैथोजेंस, फूड के साथ, पानी के साथ. We cannot escape from the invasion of those pathogens. We can never escape. The food we take in, the water we take in, the air we breathe in, it is always invaded with pathogens. We can never escape from the invasion of pathogens we take in. And we have a system in our body. That system is called as the immune system, as a defense mechanism of our body. And the WBCs, they are the main players of this immune response, of the immune system. तो दे आर द सेल्स ऑफ इम्यूनिटी. जैसे हम जनरलाइज करते हैं, RBCs, they are the cells of the gas exchange, as a general term we use. Likewise, we say these are the cells of immunity. Now, the number of the WBCs, it will increase at the time bacterial infection, at viral infection, at parasites when they enter in our body. At that time, like we see in the AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, the number of the WBCs, it will increase. It can lead to the leukocytosis. At TB, tuberculosis, at that time when we have the infection of TB, the number of WBCs increase because they have to fight with that bacteria. They have to fight with that virus. उसको उस virus के साथ लड़ना है. At that time, the number will fluctuate. It will increase. It can be leukocytosis or it can be leukopenia. You have to remember these basic terms. उसके बाद ये जो WBCs हैं, they are of 5 types. There are 5 types. ये 5 types के होते हैं जो हमें देखने हैं. There are 5 types. There are 5 types. Basically, पहले हम बोलते हैं कि WBCs, white blood cells, पहले हम बोलते हैं, they are of mainly 2 classes. One is granulocyte. Second is agranulocyte or non-granulocytes. Agranulocytes or non-granulocytes. Now, we classify WBCs on the presence of the granules. The basic confusion we just make here that granulocytes are those WBCs which contain granules, but that's not always true. Agranulocytes and non-granules, they also contain granules, but they are non-specific granules. They contain specific granules. Specific granules होते हैं. These granules contain enzymes. These contain cytotoxic materials. These contain lactoferrin. These contain lysozyme. These are granules present inside those cells. And when they are having the immune response against bacteria, against any pathogen, they just release their granules to attack that pathogen, to kill that pathogen. They have the specific granules. They also have the non-specific granules. Usually, these are the functional granules, primary and granules present in the granulocytes. You have to remember this thing. So, it's not always agranulocytes are those which lack granules. Granulocytes are of 3 types. There are 3 types. Just 3 types. One is called as neutrophil. This neutrophil contains multilobed nucleus, 2 to 4, 2 to 5 lobed nucleus, multilobed nucleus, this neutrophil. Second is eosinophil. eosinophil. Third is basophil. It's simple to remember. Neutral is also eosinophil is also called acidophil. This is basophil. This is neutral, acid, and base. I can write here the names. Neutrophils. Now, on the presence, on the staining, when we stain those cells with some dyes, with some stains, it will take these granules. We know that they contain granules. The cell will take as acidic as well as basic dye. Acidic as well as basic dye. So these cells are named as neutrophils. Phile means loving. Phile literally means loving. Neutrophils. They are nucleus. These cells contain multilobed nucleus, and these cells they have also bilobed nucleus. They are also the different shape of nucleus. These cells, granulocytes, we also call them as PMNL, polymorphonuclear leucocytes, or simply PML, polymorpholeucocytes. Polymorphonuclear, that means their nucleus. Their nucleus, polymorphonuclear leucocytes. Particularly, this term we use for the neutrophil because polymorph means many shapes of the nucleus. Polymorphonuclear leucocytes. They have this multilobed nucleus here. These neutrophils are most abundant types of the WBCs. These neutrophils, they at the site of infection, they're the first cells which move towards the site of infection. These neutrophils, they move toward the site of infection. These neutrophils. Second cell, it's a bilobed nucleus, and these cells are called as eosinophils. And third, granulocyte, that's called as basophils. Basophils. I can write here. This is eosinophil. This is basophil. All the three types, they contain granules. They produce heparin, they produce histamine. These are some chemical substances. We are going to discuss them. So eosinophil, basophil, and neutrophil, these are three types of the granulocytes. Now, this eosinophil, they constitute 2 to 3% of the total TLC, while as basophils are the least cells, least number. इनका होता है that's 0.5 to 1% of the total TLC, total leukocyte count. ये आप याद रखेंगे बेसोफिल के बारे में. उसके बाद जो granulocytes. Now these granulocytes जो है, they are two in number. One is monocytes, and second is lymphocytes. So we are learning here that the WBCs, they are basically two classes: granulocyte, agranulocyte. Granulocytes are of three types: neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. Agranulocytes, which does not contain specific granules, there are two types: monocytes and lymphocytes. These monocytes, they are also called as the macrophages of blood. And these are the largest cells of WBC. सबसे बड़े इनका बड़ा size होता है. Now when we say the size of the RBC, the size of the RBC, जो हमने बोला 7 to 8 microns. When we see the size of the WBC, it will be from 12 to 20 microns. That means इनका साइज बहुत बड़ा होता है. और एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज हमने देखा, इनमें न्यूक्लियस होता है. They are nucleated cells. WBCs are nucleated cells, whereas RBCs they are denucleated cells. इनके पास न्यूक्लियस नहीं होता है. अब ये जो सेल्स हैं, they are called macrophages of blood. So what is macrophage? We also know that जब हमारी बॉडी में कोई पैथोजन आता है, से बैक्टीरिया हमारी बॉडी में चला गया, हमारे ब्लड सर्कुलेशन में चला गया, तो वहां पे जो सेल्स हैं, दे ईट अप दैट बैक्टीरिया, उस बैक्टीरिया को खाते हैं, दे ईट अप दैट बैक्टीरिया, एंड दैट इज कॉल्ड एज फैगोसाइटोसिस. उस प्रोसेस को हम बोलते हैं फैगोसाइटोसिस. Phagocytosis. And these monocytes act as macrophages. You can call them as phagocytes. We usually get confused when we go into the 12th class, we study macrophages, phagocytes. Less somehow these WBCs, they have the ability to perform this phagocytosis. कोई डस्ट पार्टिकल, कोई वायरस, कोई बैक्टीरिया हमारे जो ब्लड सर्कुलेशन में जाएगा, मोनोसाइट एक्टिवेट हो जाएगी और उस बैक्टीरिया को खा जाएगी. डायरेक्ट ईटिंग, सेल ईटिंग, दैट्स कॉल्ड एज फैगोसाइटोसिस. इज परफॉर्म्ड बाय मोनोसाइट्स. अब ये जो मोनोसाइट्स हैं, दे आर आल्सो कॉल्ड मैक्रोफेज ऑफ ब्लड. दे आर कॉल्ड एज मैक्रोफेज. मैक्रो मीन्स large, bigger, phage means eater. So if I just translate macrophage, it's a big eater. It's a big cell of WBC which is eating, which is engulfing the bacterium. It's engulfing bacteria, viruses, pathogens को जो खाती है. So this monocyte, like these cells, WBCs, at the capillary level, they have the property of एक्स्ट्रावेजेशन में होती है, जिसको हम बोलते हैं डायापेडिसिस. उसको बेटा बोलते हैं डायापेडिसिस. तो डायापेडिसिस इज अ प्रोसेस कि जब एट द कैपिलरी लेवल दीज सेल्स दे मूव टुवर्ड्स द डिफरेंट टिश्यूज. फॉर एग्जांपल, दीज सेल्स WBCs, if these macrophages, these cells, monocytes, they move from blood into the lungs की तरफ चले गए, then those are called as alveolar macrophages, which are called as dust cells as well. So dust cells, they are migrated cells from the blood towards the lungs, and this migration, this extravasation of the WBC towards tissues is called as diapedisis. उसको diapedisis बोलते हैं. Now these cells from blood, WBCs, they move towards the liver, and we call those macrophages of liver as Kupffer cells. Those are called as Kupffer cells. So what are Kupffer cells? These are the macrophages present in the liver. We have toward the CNS, central nervous system, brain, spinal cord. वहाँ भी macrophages चले जाते हैं from blood at the capillary into the CNS, central nervous system. Those are called microglial cells. Microglial cells. We see in our skin के नीचे, we have the macrophages. Those are called as Langerhans cells. We have in the connective tissue, they are called histiocytes. So in short, these cells migrate, move from blood into different tissues, and they get the name there. For example, macrophages of the liver are called as Kupffer cells. Macrophages of the lungs is called as the dust cell. Macrophage of the blood, macrophages of the brain is called as microglial cell. Macrophages of the skin, they're called dendritic cell. They're the Langerhans cells. Like we have the dendritic cells, they're the macrophages present in the lymph. We have the histiocytes present in the connective tissue. So these cells have the ability to migrate to different sites. Why? At the time of infection. and they see there is infection, there is inflammation, they move there and they produce their immune response there. We have to learn these things from the WBCs. And we have the last type of the WBC, that's called a lymphocyte. That's called as lymphocyte. This lymphocytes, we know there are two types. One is called as B lymphocyte, and second is called as T lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. T lymphocyte, B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. The B, we say they are in the fetal life, they are produced, they are processed in the bone marrow, and T, stands for thymus. Thymus is a gland that's present above the heart. जो heart के ऊपर एक gland होता है, that's thymus. वहाँ इनकी processing होती है. These are lymphocytes. ठीक है. उसके बाद we have the helper T cell. बहुत सारे types के cells we just call them as, we have their mast cells there as well. हम mast cells भी हैं, we NK cell, natural killer cells, बहुत सारे types हैं. The broad category is that we have 5 types of WBCs. We have neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils as granulocytes, and monocytes and lymphocytes as the type of the A granulocytes. And B lymphocyte and the T lymphocyte, they are the two main types of the lymphocytes, which are agranulocytes. And these B lymphocytes, they play a role in the immunity. We have in the 12th class the detailed topic of this lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, इनके डिटेल में हमें जाना है, T lympho इनके डिटेल में जाना है. Study their cell mediated immunity. We study, because of T lymphocytes, we study humoral immunity, the immunity by the antibodies present in the blood. वो हम humoral immunity पढ़ते हैं, cell mediated immunity, सारा कुछ इसमें हम पढ़ते हैं. In short, WBCs, they are the basic cells, main cells of the immune response of the body. That concludes our today's topic. Thank you. In the next lecture, we will see about the thrombocytes. Thank you.